Born and raised in Chicago, I learned at a young age that community starts with us, the neighbors, made up of 77 communities of commitment, hard work, and dedication. We're much more than just a second city. We are visionaries. We are creators. We are fans. We are friends with stories. Stories that matter, like yours. So join me on another episode of In Your Neighborhood with Mike the Realtor. Guess where I'm at? I'm in Portage Park, in your neighborhood, Portage Park neighbors. We're here with Melissa and Joe. Thank you for having me. They're the owners here of Percolator. Thanks for having me, guys. And I'm a huge coffee fan. When I walked in to get a cup of coffee for the first time, I saw the ambiance and I felt peace. And I love to write. So I was like, this is a great place to come back and just get a cup of coffee and write. Tell us a little bit about what got you started, how long you've been here.
We just quietly celebrated our 9-year anniversary.
Ooh, look at that.
Which, in pandemic years is about 45.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky and very grateful to our community and to our neighbors for supporting us and allowing us to continue to do what we love to do. I've been in the coffee business since 1995, and which means I started when I was 4. It's a passion. Much like you, I started drinking coffee way too early.
Yeah.
My grandparents were always my inspiration. They were always my heroes.
That's
and
great.
They drank their coffee black. And that meant that I needed to learn how to drink black coffee. And so at the tender age of 7, I was on a flight from New York to California to visit them. And when the flight attendant came up to me and said, "What would you like to drink?" I said, "I'd like coffee." And she said,
What?
"How do you take that?" And I said, "Black, of course." And I choked it down and I never looked back. In 2014, we opened Percolator here in Portage Park after moving to Portage Park in about 2007. And, always wondering, this is such a great neighborhood. It's got these beautiful buildings, but there was nothing happening.
Yeah.
And so for years we were saying, when is somebody going to do something here? When is somebody going to do something here? And finally we looked at each other and we said, we're somebody. We can do something
Well,
here.
my job came to an end. I was in the corporate world as an editor for a publishing company.
Oh, look at that.
And actually we did, I was the editor for the Portage Park local history book.
Look at that.
And that's how we kind of got to know the neighborhood and fell in love with it. My job came to an end. So we decided we'd open our own business. And so we started with the thrift and vintage store across the street. And that was for the community as well.
Sure.
And then, the cafe, it was just lacking.
How do you go from vintage store to Percolator?
A lot of people ask that, they're like, it's two different sides of your brain, but we just kind of blended the things that we love.
I love that.
And
Love that.
the reason why we started a vintage store first is because Melissa was adamant about not opening a restaurant. Can you tell she's the smarter of the two? No restaurants, right? Everybody loves coffee, and the community needed a spot to gather, right?
That's it.
And so we wanted to be the cornerstone of the community. We opened this place with the goal of bringing the community together. It's amazing. Every day we meet more and more people in the community and we realize these are our neighbors. And then they become our friends. It's not just customers. These are our guests. We're inviting them. We spend more time here than we do in our home. We're inviting
your first home.
Right. It really is. And we're inviting these folks into our place and we're doing our best to make them feel comfortable and to bring everyone together. And it's just so great to put all the pieces together.
That's amazing.
That's where we got our name as well. Percolator comes from, whenever we were growing up, anytime people came over to visit, family or neighbors or friends, we put the percolator on, bring out dessert, everybody sat at the table, everybody got together and talked about their day and communed together. And it was all around that percolator. So the percolator to us kind of symbolizes community and, fellowship and being together.
Bingo.
So
You have such an amazing story. And I couldn't help but to hear that you're from New Mexico and you're from New York.
I am.
we had a coffee shop in Florida, in Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville, okay, Gator.
Every mother's dream. I was a Gator, and then I dropped out and I bought a coffee house.
I did, because that's how we met. I finished college, but that's where I would go and study or hang out with friends after work. So that's how we met, was at his coffee shop there.
She wandered in, and evidently, as the story goes, she took one look at me and said, "That guy is the guy I want to go dancing with tonight." And I took one look at her and I said, "I don't have a chance at all with this woman." And so, we were friends for years before we actually got together. And when we got together, it was magic, and the rest is history.
So again, I love coffee.
Yes.
But
Let's talk.
What do we have here? I mean, I've been at bourbon tastings, I've been to tequila tastings, but this is like similar, isn't it?
This is very similar, yeah. And I'm so glad that you brought those up. I usually draw it akin to like a wine tasting, but very similar to a tequila or a bourbon tasting. Typically, when we do a cupping, we're doing it for one of three reasons. One, we're analyzing green coffee that we're going to possibly commit to purchasing, right?
Got
So
it.
we want to make
Makes
sure
sense.
that
Makes sense,
it's
of
the right
course.
coffee.
Yes.
The second reason is we would do a production cupping. So after our full day of roasting, we want to cup it for quality assurance and make sure that our roaster is doing the right job and putting out a consistent product, right? Time and time again.
Yes.
And then the third reason why we would do a cupping is when we're creating new blends. I want to make sure before I commit to roasting 1,000 pounds of this coffee that I'm
gonna be good.
right? That it's going to be good. And so those are really the main reasons why we would do a cupping. I guess there's a fourth reason, and that would be what we're doing today, which is education, right? And so we're going to be tasting two very different coffees today. The first one and the one on your left is our Costa Rica Taratsu Valley. It's a lighter roast. The second one that we're going to be tasting is a Sumatra, and the Sumatra is a kind of a medium dark roast. This one is known more for its earthy flavors,
Okay.
which is a really
I can
right?
smell it.
Yeah, you can smell it. The earthiness is a nice way of saying it tastes like dirt.
Yeah.
But no, and Sumatra is really is a love it or hate it coffee, right? I have plenty of dark roast drinkers that don't like Sumatra. I'm a light roast drinker and I love Sumatra, but they couldn't be any different from each other. Even in the green beans, even in the presentation of the green beans, these are uniform. They're light green. They're beautiful. They're almost like a cartoon version of what coffee should look like. The Sumatra is gnarly and
Right, it's like a rubber.
it's rustic
So-
and teeth in this coffee. We found bullet casings in this coffee.
What?
Indonesia's a wild place, Mike. It's a wild place. And so, you never know quite what you're going to get when you open up a bag. So this is roasted Sumatra. This is roasted Costa Rica. And you can tell, again, just from the visual perspective,
Big time.
lighter,
Even
darker. When we're evaluating coffee, we're looking for 5 major things. We're looking for aroma. We're looking for acidity. We're looking for body. We're looking for flavor. And we're looking for finish. Right. But even before that, what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate the fragrance, and that's the fragrance of the dry grounds,
So
right?
it's similar to the wine tasting.
Very
and
similar,
bourbon.
very similar. So go ahead and on the left-hand side, we've got the Costa Rica. Give it a little shake. Let the air get in there, and then just hold it up and take a nice.
Ah,
And now
wow.
we're going to do the same thing with the Sumatra, and I want you to kind of see if you can, find any differences, any variations. Right.
Big difference.
There is a big difference.
Big
Much more
difference.
Little
roasty and-
smoky, little
I was going to say,
roasty, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Earthy.
For sure. Now, in front of you, we've got coffee A and coffee B. A is Costa Rica, B is Sumatra. This cup of water here is your rinse cup. So this is what we're going to rinse our spoons in between evaluating.
Okay.
And then this one is our spittoon, right? So
Okay. First, I've never even heard of this process.
Yeah.
When he started explaining the flavors, I'm like, it sounds like I'm at a bourbon tasting.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to allow the grounds to steep. This is called a direct infusion method. So very much like you would do with a French press, where there's no filter involved. And this is going to allow us to really get those intense flavors out of the coffee.
Yeah.
The regional
Tell me a little
differences
bit
in
about
the
that.
flavor wheel. In front of you, there's what's called the Coffee Taster's Flavor Wheel. And this allows us to kind of, open up our minds and look back into our memory bank, our memory bank, right?
Yeah.
Because there's never any wrong answers, right? When you pick up a bag of coffee and it says earthy and smoky and cedar, or it says, raspberry, milk chocolate, tart, this doesn't mean that that's what you have to taste.
Correct.
That's just what we taste,
Everyone's
Everyone's palate is
different.
different.
Yeah.
And this is just to kind of guide us.
And I know that there's a lot of people that love coffee that are watching this. Some of you probably already do this and are familiar with it. But for someone like me that loves coffee, I'm fascinated right now. All that to say is that I'm fascinated. So
The big guys, the Maxwell Houses of the world and the grocery store
Folgers.
brands. Right.
Yeah.
They're coming along and they're just, they're harvesting mechanically. But specialty coffee, this is picked by hand. There's a lot of love and care.
oh, I am eager. I
goes
am
into this.
so eager. So what step are we in now?
So
So
we're going to evaluate aroma right now. Let's start with this one.
this one, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So good.
smells
It's
amazing.
like now I smell that milk chocolate.
That milk chocolate.
Yeah,
I
the
smell
berry.
more
I smell
cherry
red.
berry.
I
Yeah.
smell berry.
Yeah, right?
That's interesting.
Put your first spoon in your rinse cup and grab your second spoon, and let's do the same thing with the Sumatra.
Oh yeah, there's the cedar.
Kind of a completely
It's like
different
really,
world,
like,
right?
Woody.
Completely. Wood.
Very woody.
Very
Very
wood.
woody, like stepping into the sauna. So now we're going to grab both of our spoons.
Okay.
You're going to start at the back of your cup, and you're going to work your way around the front. So you're going to put your spoons like this toward the back of your cup, and you're going to just scoop that layer off.
What is this called?
This is called, it's a very technical term. It's called scooping the scum. Isn't that lovely?
Okay, so how many times do you have to scoop the scum?
Until you get just that black, layer there. So you want to kind of get all of that. That one is fine.
So how do you know it's fine? Like,
oh, I'm just looking at it. You've got just a little bit of, there you go. Perfect. And now if you want to do the same for your Sumatra.
wow, that's a lot of grounds I got there, huh?
It really is. Now, when you're evaluating coffee in a cupping, you want to slurp. And I know that our parents taught us never slurp your soup.
That's
right?
probably the best part of the tasting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I drank it.
You can drink it.
I
Much
had
like a
to
wine
drink it.
tasting?
It was delicious.
Much like a wine tasting or a bourbon tasting.
Let me ask you this. So when
When we're slurping,
you slurp,
we're aspirating the coffee all over every one of our taste buds, right? Because if you've seen a map of the tongue, the different areas of your tongue and your mouth are picking up different flavors. And so
Interesting.
you really want to make sure to get it
The
all
whole
over.
thing.
And that's why the slurp,
oh, I did it again.
that's okay.
It's just like
I'm gonna be-
instinctual, right? You're just like drinking coffee.
So the first thing that we're doing, because we've gotten past the aroma, is we're looking for the acidity. All right. So is it apple juice? Is it orange juice? Is it grapefruit juice? Right.
Good way.
So where is it hitting you?
You want to be able
on
to
the side.
distinguish.
Exactly. And the more acidic, the more it's going to hit you on the sides of your tongue, right? The tip of your tongue is going to pick up the sweetness. The top of your tongue is going to kind of pick up those other flavors. And so we can rinse our spoon.
I don't feel like there's much acid then,
It's not.
unless I'm doing it wrong.
You know what? It's not a ton of acid, but let's go to the Sumatra now.
Okay.
And let's see what the difference might be.
I feel like it's more
Definitely
like,
different.
if I'm looking for a juice taste, I feel like that's more like grapefruit.
Oh, it is a grapefruit.
Is it?
It's a grapefruit to me.
To me, the Costa Rica definitely has more acidity in it.
Yeah, it definitely.
This is more of
It's
a
more
rounder, kind of a fuller bodied, right? And body
I
is
was
going to be
just
one of the
gonna
next
say,
things that we're going to talk about.
Taste or feels
Yeah,
a little
mouthfeel,
heavier.
taste, definitely heavier. Definitely.
That's- okay.
You've done this before.
Never. But now that you're saying things, it actually makes sense, because even as soon as I slurped it, I was like, this one's getting spit out. Because if I tasted, it was a difference.
Right.
So when I say apple juice, orange juice, grapefruit juice, I'm not talking about flavors. I'm talking about the way that it makes, your tongue tingle. The first thing that we were looking at was the fragrance of the dry grounds.
Okay.
Then we were testing the aroma of the wet grounds. Then we were talking about the acidity. Now we're going to start looking at flavors. What are the flavors that we're picking up now? So we can slurp again, or you can just kind of go back to your memory and see.
Let's slurp again.
Let's slurp again. First thing that I'm picking up is the fruit notes of this coffee, right? So Central American and South American coffees have a nice kind of a cherry and citrusy flavor to them.
I thought I smelled more chocolate and then fruit, but tasting it, I taste more berry with a hint of like the milk chocolate at the end.
For me now, it's the other way around. When I first smelled it, it was berry.
Berries.
Now that I taste it, it's more
It's those
of
cocoa flavors.
Yeah, the cocoa. That's freaking crazy.
Isn't that?
It's it's
And as it cools,
interesting.
which it's cooling now, the flavors are going to change. As it cools, we're gonna even discover more things.
So you would think that coffee would have a different flavor when it's cold?
80% of them are drinking it on ice these days.
No, let me ask you.
80%.
As a coffee person, I know he wants to crack up now. Do you kind of like kill the taste of coffee when you make it the way people like it nowadays? Is it kind of like is there such thing as a coffee?
Sin.
There it is.
Sin,
It's
Mike. Well, let me tell you something. If all I sold were the things that I loved, we would sell black coffee and breakfast burritos and then shut the doors at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
So when you have a business that supplies the community, you have to be mindful of the
True.
fact that, you know, different strokes for different folks,
That's
right?
right.
And
Yeah.
so
Your palate's not the same as everyone else.
it's not. When I started in the coffee industry, I was 20 years old, and I was, you know, I was a bit of a snob, you know. But over the years, I've realized that the best cup of coffee in the world is the one that you enjoy the most. It's not about me. And so, if
Well said.
what you enjoy is a cup of coffee loaded with oat milk and caramel and honey and vanilla syrup, then that's fantastic. But me, you know, I'm gonna take a light roasted Costa Rica black any day of the week over something like that.
I think you're speaking on behalf of a lot of people that grew up drinking coffee the old-fashioned way, and now, of course, as they get to learn more and more, as it evolves into, you know, what the consumer now is demanding to get better and better and better, you're always going to have your old school coffee drinker that says, I don't put anything in it.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't put anything in it. And my mom to this day, black.
Yeah.
Never have I ever seen her have any cream in her coffee. That's crazy.
So my dad,
Central American.
my dad, you could stand a spoon up in his cup of coffee. That's how much cream and sugar there is. Light and sweet, just like my dad. So when you look at your coffee taster wheel here, on that side, there's a chocolatey area right here.
Yeah.
And so it helps you kind of evaluate, right? So when I'm selling this coffee, I tell people it reminds me of eating chocolate-covered cherries.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you're right. Oh, imagine this with a
With a chocolate, right?
Ooh, that would be good. I took the test on your website,
Oh, the coffee quiz?
the coffee quiz,
Yeah, that's fun.
and it led me to a yellow one.
Oh, that's the Lighthouse blend.
Lighthouse
So
blend.
that's
That's
a breakfast blend.
what it
So
led
it's
me
also
to.
lighter roast as well. So you're a light roast guy.
And it turns out in the cupping, it's
I'm a light roast
working,
guy.
right? It's
Yeah. This was called a Sumatra. Wow. And this is from Indonesia.
it's from Indonesia.
So we're talking completely.
Couldn't be any further away. And it's funny because
What
when
a
I got
way.
started in the coffee business, Sumatra was from day one of my favorites. But I didn't know what I was talking about. I was 20 years old, and somebody just gave me the keys to a coffee house, evidently. And I used to tell customers would come in, and I'd say, "You've got to try this Sumatra. It's my favorite African coffee." It's not African at all. It's Indonesian. And so, you know, over the years, obviously, my coffee IQ has grown. Every coffee tree at one point is a distant relative and originated in Ethiopia.
Look at that.
Every coffee tree around the world. So coffee is from Ethiopia, but because of the soil, or if we were wine people, the terroir,
Yeah.
right? Because of the soil and because of the climate,
The way
and
it
you know
grew,
the way that it's grown, and
The
the way that
elevation.
it's the elevation, the way that it's harvested, the way that it's
Wow.
The
processed,
process.
all leads to different flavors, and it's really amazing,
Mind blowing.
mind blowing,
Yeah.
mind blowing.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, so the difference between a light roast and a dark roast is really time in the roasters. So
What is the process? Like, how does it go? Like, I know you guys have an awesome setup here, which is right next to the cafe.
Yeah.
What do you guys have here?
What, you want
well,
to take a...
let's give you the
I'll-
tour.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. And so when it shows up at our doorstep on a pallet, we're ordering somewhere between 10 and 20 bags a month, depending on our volume. It shows up at this front door. What we do is we bring the coffee in, and we're running a little low here, as you can see, but we have 3 different areas, one for each growing region, right? So we've got our Central and South Americas, we've got our Africans, and then we've got our Indonesians. And so one at a time, we're bringing them in. As we empty the bags, we put them in these bins for a couple of reasons. Number one, we want to make sure that it's easy for us to maneuver around, right? And so
Wow, look at that.
when we're
Oh, I
blending,
smell it.
you can smell, right?
Ooh.
It's such a weird aroma. Like it's so different from a roasted coffee aroma, but it's got something
It
of
is
its
very
own.
different.
Yeah, it serves a couple purposes putting them in these brute bins. Number one, it seals and it keeps the beans fresh, right? Because once we're taking them out of the burlap sacks, we don't want to introduce other contaminants or smells or whatever. And so it's not a super airtight seal, but it's sealed enough. And then the second reason is because we blend a lot of coffees. And so there's single origins, like what we tried today. Single origin means one bean, one farm, one country, right? So Costa Rica, Sumatra, Ethiopia, Colombia. And you can see, you know, every bin has its own country of origin.
Yes.
So Colombia, Peru, Ethiopia, Kenya, Costa Rica, Sumatra, Guatemala, Brazil, coffees from all
Look at
over
that.
the world.
Wow.
Vietnam even. I have a bag from India that's going to go into our holiday blend. But, you know, much like wine, again, where you have your Merlot or you have your Chardonnay, when you blend things together, the sum is greater than the parts sometimes, right? And so the flavors play off of each other. And so we've got our light house blend, we've got our Portage Park blend, which is our signature blend.
That's nice.
We named after the neighborhood for a reason,
Look
right?
at that.
It's the best one that we have. And we've got our dark house blend, we have our espresso blend. And you can see some of our blend recipes there. Don't share too much of my secrets, but some of our blend recipes
So
there.
you create your
2,
own
3,
recipes.
4, we create our own recipe. You know, we start with 6 pounds in the bucket, and we bring it over here to our roasting machine. We load our 6 pounds right in this hopper, and it's 6 pounds in. I'm not sure what this is, so I don't want to start the roast until Melissa comes back. Once we load our coffee in, we can go to our profiles.
Amazing.
All of our roasts are saved in here. So everything that we do, including our private label, customers, our fundraisers, all of that is all loaded in here.
So we do fundraisers for schools, local organizations. We develop and create a custom label for the organization, and they market it, sell it, put it on their social media, communicate it out to their followers. And for every bag of coffee that they sell, we give them $5 back.
Look at that.
So, and they get to participate when people go online to order their coffee for the fundraisers. They're doing something good for the community, giving back. They can pick it up at the cafe. They can also opt for our free local delivery service. Within a 6-mile radius, we deliver right to people's doorsteps for free. And they can also have it shipped if they live outside of the area.
Now, people want to partner with you. How can they find you? How can they get involved?
Yeah, on our website, there's a page for wholesale, and there's also a page for fundraising. They can just go to the fundraising. There's a short form to fill out just saying, hey, we want to do this. It's so super easy. All they have to do is give us the logo, contact. We set it all up. They don't have to do anything else. We handle all of the packaging, the roasting, the shipping to the customers. Everything is handled by us, and they get a check at the end.
Look at that. You can't ask for anything better. What's your website?
It's percolatorcoffee.com.
Percolatorcoffee.com. You got to go do that. Do it now.
We're going to roast up this fundraiser coffee on dark. We just select our roast. We confirm that the beans have been loaded. The roaster is already kind of starting up. It preheats the drum to get to that 343 degree temperature. Green beans loaded in the hopper. And then as soon as it hits that 343 or whatever temperature, depending on the roast, it's going to actually drop the beans into the drum. And they're going to rotate in here for, again, anywhere. This is
Depending
a dark
on the roast.
Depending on the roast.
Look
it's
at
going to
that.
be closer to a 13-minute roast. When it's done, it drops into this cooling tray, and literally the air gets shot in and sucked out. And then when it's done, it drops into the bucket.
Ooh, and it
you've
comes
got
out beautiful
fully
like
roasted
that.
beans, right?
Ooh.
So the magic of TV. We have 3 byproducts from the roasting process. One is hot air, shoots out the side. The other one is chaff, and that's something that you can't really see on the green beans, but it's this papery mucilage that kind of, isn't that?
Look at that.
I'll tell you.
What is this?
Chickens love it. It's just this silky kind of papery mucilage that's wrapped around the bean that you can't really see when it's green, but it bakes off in the process.
So this bakes off in the process?
Exactly. It actually gets sucked out by the vacuum and dumped in here. And then the third byproduct is water. So we lose about 18 to 20% in water weight. You don't see the water in the beans either, but just like any organic material, there's water in there. You can sort of see the paperiness on the outside, but it's not really apparent until it starts to bake off.
So it's interesting, like in bourbon, when some of the bourbon evaporates, they call it the angel's share. So
that's right. I have heard that. That's exactly right. And so we're losing about 18 to 20%. So we're going to load 6 pounds in, and we're going to get about 5 pounds out.
Interesting.
At a time, which is par for the course, right? It's the name of the game. And
of course.
So when we're done roasting, we bring it over here. We have different bins for different types of coffee, whether it's Costa Rica or our Origin Select is a program that we do on a monthly basis where we bring in a different single origin from somewhere around the world. Bin it up, we bag it up, and then we're going to bring it back to our shipping department. We categorize it by blend, by origin on this wall, whole bean or ground. Yeah. And then Melissa and her team will pack it up here.
We have a subscription business, which is actually what saved our lives during the pandemic. Our subscription business was born from necessity, and I thought, well, you know, I just want 100 families to say, sure, Joe, bring me a bag of coffee. Well, in the first week, 100 turned to 250.
Look at
By
that.
the time we were a month in, we were
Wow.
delivering to 450 homes in the Portage Park neighborhood
at
and
that.
beyond. When
Wow.
we did finally decide to reopen, our customers were like, "You're not going to stop bringing coffee to our homes, are you?" And I was like, "Not if you don't want us to." I never thought that it would be a permanent thing, but not only has it become a permanent thing, it's our main business now.
Look at
you know?
that.
So we used to be a coffee shop with a subscription delivery service, and now we're kind of a subscription delivery service with a coffee shop.
And obviously, you want good service. But when you have good coffee, people will continue to go back. And then when you have a smile and you got good food and you got Joe and Melissa who are here to greet you, I mean, who wouldn't want to not only come back, but who wouldn't want to subscribe?
We love to serve, and we love to serve our community. Every day I come in and I put my apron on, and I love to serve my community. I love to serve my people, and it's something that we're proud of. And whether we're serving you here at our cafe or we're serving you at home, we're so excited and thankful.
So it's like your story's getting better as you go. Just hearing how much you serve and how much you give back to the community, it's just the community's going to love you right back. And I think that's what brought me here, because I'm all about community. I'm a youth mentor, and for me, it's important that we're able to show our youth and our community that there's so many things that you can do with your life. I like to be part of that, saying no, there actually is so much honor in what your parents came from. And I'm speaking as far as my parents. Right? They came from Central America and Mexico with nothing.
With nothing.
Yeah.
And to give us that better opportunity, right? So I wish I want to stay here and keep drinking coffee, guys. And I know we got to go. You guys got to get me out of here because my energy is through the roof with this amazing coffee. But Joe and Melissa, thank you so much for having me. I
Thank
am
you, Mike. This has
super
been
grateful.
wonderful.
This has been great. You guys have to come on by. Stop by Percolator Cafe here in Portage Park. What's the address exactly here?
6032 West Irving Park Road.
6032 West Irving Park Road, Portage Park. And who knows, you may get a Mike the Realtor blend. And you know what I just thought about? You got a Portage Park blend. How about a Belmont Cragen blend, the Humble Park blend, the
We should do a neighborhood blend
Pilsen
series.
blend,
We should.
because in
Yeah.
Chicago we have 77 amazing communities and
that something?
City of neighborhoods.
City of Neighborhoods. All right, guys, scoop the scum and slurp.